Hey, Jerry, I can see you over there in the corner, buddy. How you doing?
Good, sir. How are you?
Good. Well, good morning and welcome to the August Mayor and City Manager Press Conference. We'll get started this morning. I think there are a few things that we'd like to touch on. I'd like to start a little bit with our current budget process. We are going to have a budget workshop later on tonight, and I wanted to speak to a little bit about the process that we are using this time around, and that is an outcome-based budget processing. And speaking with the finance director, it really is, I think, showing us that we've made a good choice when we went to this new approach to setting our budget. It has really become clear that it has made us really consider our goals for outbound, not just short term, made us really critically think of how we are going to be responsible with the tax dollars that we have in our care and be good stewards and be able to measure for the community how we have been successful with those dollars, and also be critical as to where we need to adjust and make changes. So what it has forced us to do, and I say forced just as a term, not that mean that it's been difficult, actually has been an enjoyable effort, is to ask the critical questions like, what's keeping us from our goals? Why are we not getting where we want to be? And it's common for us to put it in this frame. If we didn't accomplish this goal, the next question should be, could it be that? And could it be that we haven't considered an alternative? Could it be that we haven't allotted our resources in the right way? Could it be that we haven't made priorities that could be changed? So could it be that we need to be more critical at how we look at where we spend our funds? So I think the budget process has really been enhanced by our new process of outcome-based, and it's online. And the one thing that has come back to me is that in this process for this year, there has been increased citizen participation because it's online and people can see the budget as we work it, and more citizens are taking a look at it and asking questions and contacting their representatives. So for that, I think that's an excellent outcome when people have a first-hand look without being just told. They can actually investigate. So I think that's a good thing that we're doing. Also, I'd like to speak to the Arpa application. City Manager, if you want to speak to that.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. We have moved the deadline for the Arpa applications to August 1st, and the main reason for that is the 31st is on a Sunday, and so when we got to looking at things, there may be people that have last-minute questions or whatever, so we figured we should be accessible to them on those last-minute questions, and so we moved the deadline to close of business on August 1st, which is Monday.
Also, I'd like to speak to something that I think is very commendable. And City Manager and I both had it on our list to bring up, and that is with the fire department. And their effort, and you may have seen it on Facebook with regards to wearing red shirts on Fridays. And the red is remembering every deployed firefighter, as I understand it, and what they're doing is to try to acknowledge their colleagues who have been deployed and making sure that they represent for them here in our community. So whenever you see them wearing that red t-shirt, that's what it's for. I think it's important that we always keep the service of our citizens at the forefront of what we do every day. So I commend the fire department for coming up with that acknowledgement here in the community. The other thing I want to talk to is I want to congratulate the staff and all the organizers for the Fiesta and the Stampede that we recently had here in Topeka. It took an awful lot of work for those members of the community and for developers and organizers to bring those opportunities here to the community. It really shows the activities that we have available to our community. It shows that there is a response, and the community has supported both of those events for years. And so it's appreciated. That work doesn't go unnoticed. It brings a lot of activity and it brings a lot of attention to our community. So thank you for those organizers for both of those events. Another thing I want to speak to, if I may, and that is as a follow-up to the work that was done with my fellow governing body members on the police community relations final report. There was reference to the Civil Service Commission in that report. It is my intent and the intent of my staff to work with me in looking critically at those recommendations and see how we can move forward with them. To that end, yesterday I had a meeting with the current Civil Service Commission members to get their intake, their feedback, and their thoughts and ideas. It is important for me to work with that base that is in place right now, who understands the system and who will help us move forward with those recommendations to see how they will be put into place. So I just want the public to know that, as I have said before, that conversation, that study, that interest is not dying, it's not walking away, it's a continuing conversation for this community, and I'm making sure that that's going to happen. I've already set up a standing committee meeting with those civil service commissioners to continue that dialogue. So I just want to assure people that this is something that I'm going to see through, and with the help of staff, we will put some very helpful steps into place to make the changes over time. So give us that opportunity to do that. When you have the time to offer suggestions and support for the effort, I would appreciate that as well. I want to give the city manager an opportunity too to speak to the, as long as we're talking about commissions and so forth, the Redistricting Committee.
Yeah, the Redistricting Commission will be meeting, its first meeting will be August 4th, and they'll be discussing the boundaries with the recent census that was taken. That'll help, that determines our redistricting boundaries, how we formulate that and all that. So their first meeting will be August 4th at the Holiday Building. The public's welcome to attend that, but it'll also be live streamed, so.
Mm-hmm. Also, this coming Thursday will be the first year or 1 year anniversary of Walmart, and it's establishing its huge distribution center here in the city of Topeka. I will be attending that groundbreaking and ribbon cutting, and there'll be a number of people there who celebrate that opportunity for the city of Topeka to have that large corporation and the opportunity for employment and growth in our community. So I want to congratulate Walmart ahead of time, but we will be celebrating on Thursday with official recognition of that 1 year anniversary. And from the big to the small, I'm always promoting the small business community in this city, and I still am pleased to see the number of small businesses that pop up across the community. Since my return from out of town, my wife and I have gone to a couple of them just to experience them. And one of them that we went to is a Circle Coffee over on 17th Street, where a laundromat was repurposed into a very inviting, comfortable coffee shop for the neighborhood. And what I like about it is that it is set in a neighborhood. It's not in a shopping mall or anything like that. It's in a neighborhood. It's a lot of people just walk there and places packed. So I congratulate them on their opening. And then I also visited a new establishment in Westboro, a place that has been repurposed as well. Many of you remember Josie's Bakery. It's in the same location, so it's easy to find. A lot of people know how to get there because of Josie's former business there. But they have repurposed into, I believe it's Salute, S-A-L star U-T. And it's a very nice neighborhood meeting place, and that offers some unique eating opportunities and just a nice, quiet place to visit. So I appreciate those small businesses to continue to show confidence in our community by opening and taking that chance. That's always something to do. And if you get a chance to visit with the owners there, which I did, the story of how they came to that is very interesting and unique. So you never can tell where that initiative will come from. So congratulations to them as well. One thing I would like to bring up, and I know the city manager joins me in this, is that voting is extremely important. This primary coming up August 2nd is probably one of the most important primary elections that I have experienced in a long time. There's a lot at stake. There's a lot of information out there. Make sure that you do your due diligence. Be critical with the information that you're receiving. Do fact-finding where you can. Ask people who know the facts. Don't rely on just word of mouth or ads. Really give some serious thought. It is an important obligation that you have to this community and to the state, and don't treat it lightly. Give every thought you can to this upcoming election. I don't know if you want to speak to that as well, City Manager.
All I got to say is voting is extremely important, and we talked about our firefighters doing the military service and deploying. That's why we do this, so to give everybody the right to vote. You have that right. Please exercise that right.
Thank you. The one thing I would ask the city manager to update us on is two things: White Lakes and the city manager process.
So White Lakes, if you've been by there, you can see that it's almost completely down. They are now getting ready to start working on cleaning the basement part of it, the debris from that, and then working with mainline printing on putting up what used to be an interior wall now becomes an exterior wall, so you have to fabricate that and get that structurally sound, and so they're getting ready to start that process here very soon. So once we get that taken care of, and then we get some legal issues taken care of, then hopefully we'll be able to announce plans for what that facility will become. But it's exciting stuff going on South Topeka. City manager's process, the governing body was presented with all 40 applicants' names and their profiles last week. They went into an executive session for several hours. They have another executive session tonight after the budget meeting to continue that discussion on the city manager's process. And hopefully after tonight, we'll be able to get word that Pinnacle staffing will be able to start setting up the interview process, which is scheduled for August 30th.
You know, you mentioned something in the development out there on South Topeka Boulevard, what could be in the offing. I don't want to forget to acknowledge as well, when you mentioned Mainline, their acquisition of what was the formal Gordman's building, and now they're reinvesting in the city of Topeka as well by moving some of their operation to that location, which I think will enhance, again, the efforts to bring back the boulevard and to enhance the business growth there. So that's a good thing to point out as well. The opportunity for us to visit about what we're going to do with our internal staff and how we're working to acknowledge the efforts and the work of all of our departments. I think that you have something that you wanted to speak to with regards to our utility staff.
Yeah, I'd just like to send out a shout out and appreciation to our water department and utilities. This weather has been raising havoc on water mains again. We went from really dry now back to wet, which is causing more settling. And so we've had several water main breaks. And so the staff worked throughout the night, last night, attending to those water main breaks. And so I just want to say thank you to the staff for being out there and doing that hard work, and appreciate everything they're doing to keep the water flowing for the citizens of Topeka.
I think those are the topics that we wanted to bring to your attention. Are there any questions that you'd like to ask?
Regarding the city manager, you said you wanted to pare it down to where you could start doing interviews. Roughly how many candidates do you want to have when you start doing the interviews?
Well, I think the general thought has been by the governing body to get it to maybe around anywhere between 4 and 6 at the maximum, I think, to that core group that they would like to get the interviews.
And so the agenda for tonight's meeting said possible action. Is it possible that after you've done your executive session, you'll come back into session and direct staff to contact those specific candidates?
I don't think that the intent is for us to make that decision this evening. It is to, again, look at those pared down applications to get to that even more finite number before we take that action to direct.
But right now, you're at 40 applicants.
Yeah, I think that was total, yeah, finally.
And can you tell me 2 from Topeka and 6 from Kansas?
I believe that's correct.
There are 13 that have ties to Kansas. My understanding is 5 live in Kansas, and then we have a couple that are local candidates.
What is the status of the Polk Quincy viaduct construction right now?
As far as the repairs?
Yes.
Like I said, we stay in constant contact with KDOT, and they are continuing to remove the railing from it. They have noticed some spots over Topeka Boulevard and First Street that need attention as well. And so the hopes are within the next couple of weeks, they'll be able to put the railing up and secured fencing, and we'll be able to open up the streets that are currently closed. And then they'll be doing some attention. We won't do a total, it does not appear that they're going to do a total closure of Topeka Boulevard and First Street when they do those repairs over the viaduct, but we will keep the public posted when that stuff takes place.
Mayor, I have a question regarding residency. Is your stance on the residency requirement the same as it was when you voted to keep that 3 years ago?
Well, I don't want to give an advance vote notice, but I have taken a lot of other things into consideration. I know that my position, as I represented it previously, was a position that I felt strongly that my constituency supported, and I wanted to make sure that their voice was heard. And I think the discussion led to other voices that have given us a need to reconsider. So I'm open to that, and I feel confident that the constituency will be best served by the consideration of all options. Again, I don't want to pre-state any vote that I might make, but I can tell you that the consideration for constituency concern was my first position, and it remains that now, but constituency can change their mind as well. And so I hope that I'll be able to represent them in a positive way.
What about, for either of you, city employment? I think there was a comment a while back on finding difficulties getting people to come in working on like street crews or things of that nature. Where are we at with that? Are there still needs for more people to come into the ranks of city employees, or in any positions in particular that are most pronounced or needed right now?
Well, the city of Topeka, we have several openings throughout different departments. Those include utilities, public works, which would be street department. And, you know, a lot of people say, hey, we want our streets repaired, but we have to have crews. And so finding people to do that work is a priority. Municipal courts is a priority. And as always, you know, the police and fire are up there as well. So we have a lot of openings in the city of Topeka at different levels, different positions. And so if you're looking for a job, the city of Topeka, we have a lot of openings. You can go to the city website, go to human resources link, and then there's a top left-hand corner, it talks about link for current openings, and you can click on that and get those. So yeah, we have a lot of positions open. Our recruiting efforts are increasing, and so every other Tuesday, we have employee orientation, and so we did that yesterday, and we had several police officers and some contracts and procurements, had somebody in there as well. So those recruiting efforts continue, and we're enhancing those and being more active. And so when we talk about, some of the professional type services, engineers, plannings, and attorneys, those are, ones that we're working on, and being competitive in the open job market is one of those things that we're working on as well. The governing body's aware of that, and we're working with them very closely on that and how we move forward. And so, Mr. Renter, you mentioned residency. Those are all parts of the conversations of recruiting and how we bring people in. And so I think as long as we have a residency rule on the books, it periodically will come back up for consideration, because those are some of the things that we deal with. So,
A quick follow-up, we see the rise in the COVID cases. Is that on the radar for the city? If so, where do we stand on that at this point? Still we're just seeing this increasing numbers, I think.
yeah, for us, fortunately, with city staff, we've not noticed a large increase in COVID positive cases. We still stay in contact with the health department and emergency management and stay abreast of all those things. And so we monitor, keep on top of those type of things. But fortunately, we've not been hit real hard with an influx of COVID positive individuals. As we know, COVID is one of those things that we've been dealing with for several years. And so now it's really how do we deal with it, how we manage it, and continue to move forward with having minimal impacts on city operations. So right now, we're fortunate that we don't have a lot of COVID positive cases.
Mayor, what can you tell us about your recent trip up to New York, by the way?
I wasn't even going to bring that up.
I hope it was okay that I did.
No, that's fine, that's fine. Before I answer that, though, if I could, speaking to our recruitment and our vacancies that we have, again, I remember, and it still is, I think, a feeling that if you work for the city of Topeka, you're working for a good employer. I know it's something to be proud of. Not everybody gets to be hired by the city of Topeka. But we're doing more, I think, to pay attention, not just to the pay and the benefits, but that we express our real honest gratitude for the work that's done by our employees. I think that's an environment that we need to really look at and focus on, that appreciation, and you heard it this morning, for the work that's being done by our city employees. It has to be a welcoming environment, an environment that you can grow in, an environment that you can see yourself in long term. And residency was one thing. I think equity and inclusion is another, something that I have stressed for quite some time, that if people really feel that they are a part of and not just standing outside and doing a job that isn't looked at as valued, I think that makes it difficult for us to recruit, but that's not the case. Everybody that works for the city employee is essential for providing the services of our community. So I want to say that because when you're looking at a job description, there's a lot more to it than working for the city of Topeka. So I try to encourage as many people to give us a real opportunity to show them what we can be as an employer. Back to the opportunity that I had with Bloomberg Harvard in New York City. That came to me as part of being elected as a new mayor. I was invited to go to the Harvard Kennedy Leadership School in Boston. I went there with about 40 other mayors. From there, I was re-invited to attend this leadership initiative training in New York City, again hosted by Bloomberg Harvard Philanthropies. And there were 40 mayors from across the world, not just across the country. We had people from Glasgow, Africa, the Ukraine, Finland. It just went on and on. And then I sat next to a guy who was the mayor of Cincinnati, and I had lunch with the mayor of San Diego and visited with people from all over, and listened to their situations as compared to Topeka. They're different, but very much alike in many ways. And the opportunity to sit and visit with that body of mayors who are recognized as very important to the success of their states and communities, because the mayors are recognized as that first link to government in their community, that link that you can reach out to, that you can talk to, that you can visit with. They're not at arm's length like sometimes the state and federal can be. So it gives you an encouragement that the job that you're doing is important to your community, and it makes us become more critical in our thinking and how we deliver our message. And the message has to be from the heart, from myself as the mayor, but it also has to be a message that includes everyone. It's us in Topeka. It's not me in Topeka. It's us in Topeka. And that's what I think the overall message that they ingrain in our presentations and training. And I'm grateful that we still have a very good connection there, because I'm going to have 2 of senior staff that will be attending as a follow-up. And then later on in the year, probably around September or so, there will be another opportunity for a team to come from Topeka that will include elected officials, city, county, a critical support staff here in the community, and they will go there and have an opportunity to take part in one of 3 tracks, either collaboration, data, or innovation. And after that conversations, that group will decide which track they will attend, and they will get not the silver bullet answers that some people think, oh, you're going to go there and they're going to give you all the right answers for the issues that you have. That just doesn't exist. And they make that quite clear, but they help you think along those lines to bring in everyone that you hope will be supportive of the overall goals of the city and your community. So for me, it was very enriching, and it was also reaffirming that the grass isn't always greener on the other side. There are a lot of other places that don't have the infrastructure that we have already in place, like our Greater Topeka Partnership. A lot of people were scratching their heads going, what is that? How'd you bring it together? How does it function in concert with the governing body? So we have been doing a pretty good job, but I think we can do better. And that was what the opportunity presented to all of us who attended there, that we can always do better. We just need to think differently sometimes. Okay. Nothing else? Well, thank you for coming. I appreciate it very much.